Welcome to part 2. For those subscribers that have seen the Sasuke versus Kakashi video, today I got my boys Loco and Sage back again for part 2 of this incredibly awesome video series. Go ahead and say everybody, y'all.
Well, what's up, guys? Sage here. Glad to be back. Glad to be able to, talk about Kakashi again. Anytime I get to do that, that's great. Especially with these two guys. So, really happy to be back on the channel with you fellas.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? We had a lot of fun last time talking about Sasuke versus Kakashi. It was a golden video. I loved it. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already, so you can be up to date on all the information. But yes, can't wait to get into it today with my two boys.
Yeah, so this video is going to be pretty synonymous with that video. We got a couple more rounds in this video than we did last video. We have like 10 rounds specifically. And we'll just kind of go off, one by one and just see how Naruto and Kakashi, Sensei and student stack up against each other throughout the series. It's actually a little bit more interesting in some cases than Kakashi versus Sasuke, despite the fact that Kakashi and Sasuke are more synonymous in their abilities, at least for the most part, up to a certain point, than Naruto and Kakashi. But we were going I don't know how long, y'all, on some of these entries, going back and forth, having our own opinions. So again, similar to the Kakashi and Sasuke video that we did, we're just gonna give our opinions of each entry, why we think this, how we think this, and just act accordingly. It'll be up to y'all to decide which one you guys agree with. That's how it goes in this kind of videos. If there's nothing else, Sage, Loco, you got anything else to say before we start?
I'm just ready to get it rolling, dude.
Let's get it.
All right, so the first round we have is tuning exams, meaning tuning exams Naruto, meaning all his feats of the tuning exams, whether it's fighting Neji or fighting Gaara, versus pre-Anbu Kakashi. So, Sage, I'll let you go first on this one. You go ahead.
Yeah, so I detail pretty heavily in my Anbu Kakashi video, not only how strong he is in the Anbu, but how strong he is going into the Anbu. And because he was able to take down this stone Jonin named Kako, who is described as an extremely powerful Jonin in the data books, we can definitively get this version of Kakashi to high Jonin level. And so there's really no argument for Naruto here. Even the strongest people in the tuning exams during that time are yeah, you're already tuning level, Now, if you take into account him summoning Gamabunta, if Gamabunta listens to him, it's a totally different story, but 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 probably, actually, Gamabunta's gonna be like, get out of here, Squirt, why'd you summon me? So there's just nothing he has in his kit, doesn't have the Rasengan or anything, so Kakashi slams. It's bad.
Loco, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with Sage 100%. Kakashi at this point has a lot more experience in real combat, going in as a child soldier during the 3rd grade Shinobi War. But Gamabunta is a problem. Naruto should be able to summon him as long as he taps into the Nine-Tails chakra. But there is the issue of whether or not Gamabunta would listen to him. The first time when he summoned him against Gaara and Shukaku, it seemed like Gamabunta didn't really want to get hurt in that fight and didn't want to waste his energy on an opponent like Shukaku, a tailed beast. But it is possible that if Naruto begs and pleads with him enough, he might just one-shot Kakashi and sit on him or something. So if we're excluding that possibility, then Naruto just loses after Gamabunta just leaves. But yeah, so it's whether or not Gamabunta will help him. That's what it relies on. But other than that, Kakashi should defeat him pretty handily.
Yeah.
I would also just add quickly, for anybody who is Gamabunta, let's just say he does listen. I'm not sure the fight would even get that far, because Kakashi as a Chunin is stated to have, been, well, first of all, he became a Chunin at 6. This is a 10, 12-year-old Kakashi prior to joining the Anbu. This version of Kakashi was like Loco said, a child soldier on the battlefield fighting grown adult shinobi and killing them. So I think he would just go at him and take his head off, before he could even take a step in the right direction. So I think it's over before it starts. But if Gamabunta comes out, yeah, it could definitely be.
I was literally just about to say the same thing. I was I don't even think that because honestly in the narrative, Naruto only goes into the Nine-Tails chakra form when he's pushed to the absolute brink. Case in point with Neji and Gaara. So, like I said, there might be a chance where Kakashi just kind of wraps up the fight with Lightning Blade before it even gets that far anyway. So, yeah. We're all in agreement. Kakashi wins with this one. 9, 10 out of 10, 9, with that, if Kawabuta actually does listen to him. Okay, so second round is going to be Naruto post Rasengan training versus the same pre-Anbu Kakashi. So this is Naruto during the Tsunade rescue arc when he, right after he just learned the Rasengan. And yeah, so he's got all his tuning exam feats, but added with his strongest jutsu, in his arsenal at that time, versus the same Kakashi. I'll go first. I honestly think that even with the Rasengan, Kakashi should take it. I mean, obviously Naruto's got some more experience under his belt now, and he's got, you could probably argue he's got some slight strength buff, after getting as strong as he's gotten against Gar and whatnot. But for the most part, he's still relatively the same. And honestly, yes, he's got the Rasengan, but even he wasn't really able to, he wasn't really quick enough to tag Kabuto with it unless he had to hold him down with the kunai in his hand. So, and even Jiraiya kind of even made a comment about this in Shippuden when they were doing the flashback where he's like, are you going to let your hand get cut like that every time you try to, land the Rasengan? So that might apply here with this Kakashi. I don't think, Naruto is as quick to land the Rasengan necessarily on Kakashi, especially if he's seeing the Rasengan anyway. So I don't know. Personally, I don't think there's much of a gap between this Naruto and Chunin exams Naruto, in terms of physical attributes. But that's just me. So I think Kakashi should take it, relatively the same. Loco, you want to go first on this one?
Sure. Honestly, we just kind of included this matchup just to see, if it would make any difference for Naruto, and it really doesn't. You could say that he has, better chakra control now because he has to, create the form and the shape of the Rasengan. But other than that, like LightningSnow said, he shouldn't be all that different from his Chunin exams variant, which we already established was losing to Kakashi, basically. So I don't think there's much of a change here at all. He has a new jutsu, but it doesn't really mean all that much if he's going to have such a hard time landing it.
Yeah, it's a slam fest. The Kakashi has the Chidori in his bag, the Sharingan, he's just gonna run at him, and even if Naruto has time to charge up the Rasengan, try catching the Chidori with your hand. It's not happening, So
oh my God.
There's just nothing he can do here. It's clip.
Yeah. Okay. So now we'll move on to round 3, and ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you, this one was probably one of the most biggest contention of this series, not just in this video. Because this one's tough because there's so many implications and interpretations you can make of this particular round, right? I keep trailing off to the title of the round, but it's One-Tailed Naruto at the Final Valley of Part 1 versus Jonin, Part 1 Kakashi. Honestly, man, this one, again, like I said, this one was one we got the popcorn out, y'all. We got our pens and pads and whatnot. We were sitting in our easy chairs and just kind of going over how this fight would go. And honestly, I'm kind of split, but I am sold on a particular winner. I'm going with Part 1 Kakashi for a couple of different reasons. One, it is kind of the Jonin in Part 1, and it might be the way that the series was narratively told, but the Jonin in Part 1 are made to be a really big deal. And even though when you get to people like Itachi and Orochimaru who are at a separate tier above Jonin, even their top Jonin, still Jonin in Part 1 were considered a really big deal. And so the fact that Kakashi has this much experience after already being a Jonin for several years, that might already lend credence to them being over Naruto. But not even that. The fact that Kakashi was said to be, on a similar tier of Zabuza, people like Zabuza, and above people like Gemma and Raido, who were able to pretty much overwhelm the Sound 4 in their Curse Mark 2 state after already being fatigued and out of chakra. Just, I don't know, it just says to me that because there's a part of me that feels like Naruto may not even be able to take all the Sound 4 by himself. So, I don't know. There's a part of me that just feels like Kakashi should be able to take this over, especially if we're even counting the Sharingan as a problem, because if Naruto goes into the One Tail, there's a good chance that Kakashi, with adept as with his Sharingan, should be able to like shut down the Kyubbi chakra the same way that Sasuke did in the beginning of Shippuden. So like the One Tails may not even be a problem in the first place. So that's kind of my takeaway on it. I feel like Kakashi just has the experience and like the calm composure and the tactical skills necessary to deal with something as, and don't get me wrong, like One-Tailed Naruto definitely gives him a time and a half, but I just feel like Kakashi has the skills necessary to shut this Naruto down. So say it's your turn first. We want to go first on this one?
Yeah, so I mean, everything you just said, that's the reason I'm leaning in that direction as well, because so here's the thing. A lot of this is ambiguous. You have to assert things that aren't necessarily provable in order to get Naruto and Sasuke, at the Final Valley to that level. And for me, I don't think the evidence is great enough on their side to get them to that like peak tippity-top Jonin level of combatant. And like Lightning alluded to, the Sound 4, who I will say, like Naruto and Sasuke should individually be above the Sound 4. I'm not entirely sold that either of them are above the entire Sound 4 altogether, but even if they are, like, they would have to gap the Sound 4 badly, all of them together, in order to be on Kakashi's level, because Kakashi, peak Jonin, strongest Jonin in Konoha, stated multiple times, he is significantly above both Genma and Raido, especially whenever they're heavily fatigued. And while they're heavily fatigued, stating that they're out of chakra, fresh off a mission, they're able to push the entirety of the Sound 4 working together to their absolute limit in their CM2 states. And then there's an interesting comment that they say you have to send a Jonin after them in order to take care of them. So it's like, the implication is like a Jonin or a team of Jonin should be able to handle these guys fairly easily, and Kakashi's at the absolute peak of this Jonin tier in Konoha. So there's a massive gap between, where the Sound 4 scale collectively and where Kakashi is at. And there's really nothing to assert that either Naruto or Sasuke in the Final Valley are on that level. And since they only really scale to one another, that's kind of an issue. Regard to that, what we talked about in the last video in regards to Final Valley Sasuke was the Kabuto stuff. And so basically he like scares Kabuto, like makes him crap his pants because of his chakra level. And that can be argued around whether it be power or it be like his actual combat ability. But at the end of the day, even if we scale Sasuke to or like slightly marginally above that Kabuto, it doesn't really matter because the Kabuto or the Kakashi that scales the Kabuto is a weaker version of Kakashi pre-rock climbing training, like before his stats are shown to go up in the data books. So there's just nothing to assert that they're actually on that peak Jonin tier with Kakashi, and anything that can potentially get them there is just not provable. So I think the assertions just aren't great. So what it comes down to is like, if they don't quite scale to that level, if they scale a little bit below that level, he's definitely getting hit with a Raikiri. Now, do we think he can heal from a Raikiri? Maybe, but if he gets one through the chest and then heals his heart like he healed his lung, then Kakashi would just fire another one at him and he's going to take his dome off. So I just don't see a way for him to beat Kakashi here, especially with Kakashi having a massive intellect and experience advantage. So like at worst, they scale to a similar level and Kakashi gaps him in both of those categories, which leads to a dub. And at best for Kakashi, he just gaps him in both scaling and those two things. So I just don't see a way that he can win here. But Loco, you wanna pose the other argument on this thing?
Yeah, I'm definitely the contrarian for this one. I definitely think One Tails Naruto has a much better chance at defeating Kakashi. And like Sage mentioned, we do see that base Sasuke, after fighting Naruto at the Final Valley, is able to make Kabuto very scared just by flexing his chakra a little bit. And obviously you could say that maybe Kabuto wasn't expecting this level of power to come from someone like Sasuke, but for him to feel this threatened and this scared, that would imply that Sasuke's chakra potency needs to be at least equal to, if not stronger and greater than that of Kabuto's. And like I said in our last collab about Sasuke versus Kakashi, I brought up this entire point already. Chakra is what shinobi use to amp themselves and their jutsu, their physical strength, and their speed. So if Sasuke's chakra is equally as potent, if not stronger than Kabuto's, then that would just inherently mean that he has similar physical capabilities, and we know that Kabuto is stated and shown to be relative to Kakashi on multiple occasions, said by Jiraiya, said by Orochimaru, and by the data books as well. Even if Kabuto is scaling to a weaker version of Kakashi, unless you think Kakashi is like a blitz tier faster after rock climbing, it doesn't really matter, because that would still imply that both Sasuke and Kakashi are just some amount above Kabuto, implying some level of relativity between them. And of course, the reason why I'm talking about Sasuke is because Naruto and Sasuke scale to each other, like Sage mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, there is the point about the Sound 4. Like, we don't know if Naruto and Sasuke are above the Sound 4 as a whole. And I would just say I don't see why they wouldn't be. It's just like Sasuke was already whooping them one by one. He scales above both Lee and Neji at this point in time. It's stated and shown that Sasuke is the greatest and the best genin to come from Konoha during the Chunin exams. That would put him automatically above both Lee and Neji. And they were already going band for band with some of the Sound 4 members. And this was before Sasuke got the Curse Mark II second state, before he got the 3-Tomo Sharingan, and before his curse mark was stabilized after he got put in the barrel thing by Sakon and Ukon. So basically, this is just a much stronger version of Sasuke, which much stronger amps that Naruto directly scales to. And another method you can use of getting Naruto to this Kakashi tier of strength would be during the Land of Waves arc, in which Kakashi self-admittedly says that Haku is stronger than him. And we see later on in during the bridge fight that Naruto is just stated and shown to be superior to Haku overall. As a matter of fact, whenever he lets out his Kyubbi chakra, Zabuza indicates that Naruto's current chakra is just much stronger than Kakashi's. And once again, we get back into the same argument. Shinobi use their chakra to amp themselves and their ninjutsu. So if Zabuza hears Naruto's chakra to be significantly above this version of Kakashi, albeit weaker than the version of Kakashi we're currently talking about, because this is after he's done some training, this would still imply Naruto and Sasuke are on a similar tier of strength to Kakashi. And now that we've established that, basically, Naruto gets his lung ripped out by Sasuke's Chidori in the final valley and just immediately regenerates. So I feel like if Kakashi is able to land a Raikiri on him, it just wouldn't matter, because Naruto can just instantaneously heal back up from that wound, whatever it might be, except for maybe like Naruto's brain, that's debatable, or his heart, I don't know. But if it's like, Naruto should be able to regenerate from most attacks, and we know that Kakashi only has a limited amount of Raikiris that he can pull off. He doesn't have insane god levels of stamina like he does in the War Arc. So the more times Kakashi is trying to hit him, the longer this fight lasts. It just ends up going in Naruto's favor over time. But that's my take. I think One Tails Naruto has better scaling and assertions in his favor, and he also has crazy regeneration factors, which makes me more confident that he would get the W.
All right, so now that we're all in agreement of our own like contention towards it, so that's what we think about it. You know, I'm of the opinion of Kakashi. I've seen both arguments for, both sides of the argument for this battle. I'm just leaning more on Kakashi's side, if only because, honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think that the Sharingan itself could play a huge part in shutting down the Kyubbi chakra. One could argue that if that was the case, Sasuke could have done it in their fight. But at the same time, I don't think Sasuke was aware, because Sasuke had no idea what this chakra was. And yeah, in the beginning of Shippuden, he also didn't know, because he didn't know until he actually looked inside Naruto's psyche that what his power was. But that you could also make the case that Sasuke wouldn't have even known to do anything even remotely like that in their fight. And maybe you can also argue that Sasuke wouldn't want to win to just genjutsu, like maybe he just wanted to test his skills against Naruto as equals or whatnot. But I just think that the Sharingan being able to suppress the Nine Tails chakra might actually play. I mean, that was actually one of the reasons why Kakashi was placed in as their Jonin leader, because there's a chance that if Naruto's chakra ran wild, that the Sharingan could stop it. It's even said that the Sharingan can control the Nine Tails to extent. So So maybe it's up in the air. It's one of those things like maybe you can only use it with a Manku Sharingan, but again, the fact that Sasuke was able to suppress it in the beginning of Shippuden probably indicates that, a basic three Tomoe Sharingan could do the same. Sharingan aside, I think that like the experience and the Raikiri being able to, if Naruto can regenerate his heart, then that's one thing. And I think that like Naruto might be able to push Kakashi to the edge. But we also see that it is confirmed by Sasuke that there's a price to using the Kyubbi chakra mode, like whenever his shoulder or his entire arm was like numb or, not being able to be used before they went to their Rasengan and Chidori clash. So it is possible that Naruto's chakra might, work against him in some way. Other than that, I feel like the best way I could argue for Naruto is if Kakashi fights with restraint because it's a student. But if we're doing this as a non-narrative position and they're just going all out, then yeah, I personally feel like with Kakashi's experience, the Raikiri, and the Sharingan in itself, I think Kakashi might be able to take this one. So,
yeah, I would also just add in there really quick on the Genjutsu point. Like, obviously, it's not provable whether or not he can use Genjutsu powerful enough to suppress the Kyubbi, but we do know that Naruto sees Sasuke's 3 Tomo Sharingan in this fight. And then by the beginning of Shippuden, he hasn't seen Kakashi in a couple years. And the last time he saw Sasuke was in the Final Valley. And he still seems to think that Kakashi's Sharingan is like far superior to Sasuke's. So at worst, he's referring to the last time he saw their 2 eyes in action. And so that would mean that like just by default, he should have better Sharingan Genjutsu than Sasuke, which makes sense because he's had the Sharingan forever. So yeah, if you want to lean on the Genjutsu argument, that's sort of where you would have to go with it. But I just personally think that he probably just outscales him. But yeah, definitely let us know what you guys think in the chat, because I think this is a really hot topic in the community as a whole. So I'm interested to see what you guys think.
So now we'll move on to round 4. And speaking of 4, this is Four Tails Naruto versus Anbu Kakashi. Random. Yeah, I know. I get it. People probably have a question mark of why we put Anbu Kakashi, but I mean, come on. It's Anbu Kakashi. We don't have many Anbu. We don't have. This is like the last time we feature Anbu Kakashi anyway. So just roll with it, y'all. Honestly, I think for what his opponent is, I think Kakashi does pretty well. But if I had to go ahead and give my opinion, I think Kakashi just kind of gets overwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I mean. Don't get me wrong, like Anbu Kakashi is definitely more impressive than Part 1 Kakashi as a whole. His stamina is a lot better, or at least it seems so anyway. He's able to maintain the Raikiri a little bit longer, a little bit more proficiently. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, if he lands a Raikiri, I mean, it'll do some damage, but against the Four Tails, I don't know. He'd have to be very precise in either cutting his head off, or like he'd have to like land... I'm talking about laying the Raikiri straight on through and through the Four Tails, maybe in order to damage it. Like he's got to hit his heart like precise. Other than that, I don't know. I can't see that like going on the argument from before. I don't know if the Sharingan alone can like completely suppress this Naruto. So unless he's got like a seal in his pocket strong enough to completely just suppress it, then I think Kakashi's kind of cooked here, because just seeing the Biju Bomb blast radius, we did kind of talk about this though. Like if it's one of those things where like if Naruto prepares the Biju Bomb like he did against Orochimaru and just completely just shoots it right at Kakashi, unless Kakashi's Headhunter Jutsu is like so potent where he could just go as straight down to the ground where the blast doesn't even reach him, then Kakashi's kind of cooked, because that blast covers a wide like range. So I don't see Kakashi being able to dodge it unless he just kind of body flickers out of it. But other than that, I think Kakashi's kind of cooked here. So, Loco, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Kakashi really has that much going for him in this fight. It's similar to the last matchup. Anbu Kakashi does have some scaling to suggest he's actually stronger than he was in Part 1. So there is that. And I'll let Sage explain that. He's the Anbu Kakashi guy. But realistically, Kakashi still has a similar predicament to what he had in the last matchup, to where the Nine Tails will just regenerate any damage that Kakashi does to him. And at this point in time, he doesn't have Kamui yet, so his best bet is still the Raikiri. And now Naruto has access to much more chakra, greater chakra in general. So like the regeneration factor should at least be as good as it was before, if not better. Unless you want to say that like the version 2 Jinchuriki cloak kind of damages Naruto because it kind of burns away his skin. But even then, that's kind of weird. I don't see why like the regeneration factor still wouldn't play a part in this fight. But even then, it's like this Four Tails Naruto is posing like a massive threat to like Sani level combatants. He was going up against Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Granted, Jiraiya probably didn't want to actually fight Naruto, and Orochimaru was feeling the drawbacks from needing a new body. Basically, he needed to perform the body swap ritual. But the Four Tails still dealt some pretty crazy damage to both of these guys. Especially, like, his Bijou Bomb is very, very impressive. Orochimaru considers it to be a pretty big threat to his safety, because he's like, yeah, chakra of that density could kill even me. And he ends up having to whip out the triple Rashomon gates to stop it and divert its path. And now, while you could be saying Orochimaru wasn't taking Naruto that seriously in this fight, and I will agree to an extent he was kind of having fun, joking, and laughing here and there, but him whipping out the triple Rashomon really is an indication of how big of a threat Naruto is, because it's stated in the data books that trying to summon even one of the Rashomon gates requires massive amounts of chakra. And like I already mentioned, Orochimaru is in a body that is currently decaying and rotting and rejecting him, actively rejecting him. So if he is putting this unnecessary strain on his body for like no reason at all, that just wouldn't make sense. Like, he has to have a reason for wasting, sending so much chakra into using the triple Rashomon gates, which just leads to the conclusion that he probably wouldn't have been able to outright dodge this Bijou Bomb, which makes me feel a little bit questionable as to whether or not Kakashi would be able to dodge it. But even if you think he could, like LightningSnow said, maybe he could like hide underground or something while the Bijou Bomb is going off. Like, Naruto will still outlast him. Obviously, he has more chakra with the Nine Tails, and Kakashi will just be having a hard time dealing any meaningful damage to him. So I definitely got Four Tails Naruto in this fight.
All right, say what you got.
Yeah, so I actually, whenever we talked about this, we kind of had to cover a lot of, because here's the thing about Anbu Kakashi. We don't know exactly how strong he is. You can make some assertions with, like, the lowest end assertion that you can possibly make is that he's a good deal stronger than he was in part 1. That's the lowest assertion you can possibly make. And we know that that's fair, because going into the Anbu, he's already high Kage level by virtue of taking down a quote-unquote extremely powerful Jonin 2 years prior to entering the Anbu. So he's somewhere between peak tippity-top Jonin level and like maybe low Kage at the absolute lowest. On the high end, you can get him all the way up to high Kage level, maybe even beyond that, by virtue of scaling him above Mukai Kohinata, who scales above Itachi and Shisui combined Mangekyo Sharingan, who both at that combination, according to Danzo, scales above Fugaku, because he says that nobody in the Uchiha clan can resist them. And then that Fugaku is a Kage level combatant. So if you guys have read the Itachi Shinden novels, you guys would see how bad of a beatdown Mukai gives 3-Tomo Itachi and 3-Tomo Shisui, up until Shisui uses the Mangekyo. And it's at that point that he's able to, force him to off himself. But the versions of Shisui and Itachi that Danzo think are above Fugaku are their 3-Tomo states, because he doesn't know about the Mangekyo. So the fact that Mukai is massively above these two, because he's able to solo them like with very little difficulty, they don't land a single hit on him, that would mean that the gap between Anbu Kakashi and Kage level Fugaku is at least that big, which would then get him to that high Kage tier, in my opinion. So if you get him there, and he doesn't have Kamui, he doesn't have more ninjutsu than he had before and all that stuff, then he would have to make up that gap with pure physicals, which leads me to believe that he should be able to react to and keep up with a combatant like this, who scales to a significantly weakened Orochimaru. So, that being said, I do think Kakashi should be able to land a Raikiri on him. I think he should be able to dodge all of his attacks. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is your interpretation of whether or not Naruto can heal from something like that. This is why this is confusing, though, because we see Naruto heal a lung that got destroyed whenever he's in his one-tail state, but then we see in this fight that Sakura is trying to heal him. I looked this up while we were talking about it. Sakura's trying to heal him, and she says, in the past, the Nine-Tails chakra gave Naruto accelerated healing, so why is this taking so long? So the implication there is that this state may not give him accelerated healing, which means he might not regen from it. But at the same time, if Kurama realizes that this state is keeping him from healing, he may just power down the state to where he can heal. But at the same time, if he does that and Kakashi scales to a stronger version of that form, then he might just be able to hit him again. So it's really weird. I would say this is, if you take the highest end assertion of Anbu Kakashi that you reasonably can, I would give him the W if you pair it with the idea that this cloak doesn't heal Naruto. But if you say that he can heal in this state, or that like he would be able to heal in time after powering down for Kakashi not to hit him again, and you take a lower end interpretation of Kakashi, then Naruto should win. So I think it just really depends on where your interpretation is on both sides of that.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're kind of in a sort of agreement that Loco, me, for sure get this one of the four tails. Sage is more up in the air. And I get it. Like I get like Kakashi, there's a chance, but it's like, I don't know. I think the fact that more than likely, Kakashi probably hasn't fought anything like the Four Tails before, so it's kind of like a new separate, entity for him to take on. That shouldn't really affect it too much, his performance too much, but it might, play a factor. But yeah, I think I would, and I think a lot of people would also kind of like use the interpretation of how Orochimaru kind of fear hacks Kakashi in the Anbu Kakashi arc, and this Orochimaru, went on to like, and it's not the same Orochimaru, but Orochimaru still went on to give Four Tails Naruto, a good run for his money. So that would therefore mean that Anbu Kakashi should just get cooked. But that's not the same case here. Like, I mean, Orochimaru has a history of fear hacking people just by looking at them. So like, you can't really, I mean, that is not, I don't know if I could call that an anti-feed for Kakashi, because like everyone gets fear hacked by Orochimaru, everybody. So it's like, unless you're Hiruzen who already knows who he is. But yeah, I guess that's like all I can say. So the next round we're going to go to is the Kakuzu arc for both combatants. Now, you probably think that this is probably like a question mark, like why would we do this? But honestly, this is actually a pretty, hotly debated topic amongst the Naruto community that I've seen anyway. And it all comes from one sentence, one panel, with Kakashi talking to Naruto after the Kakuzu fight is wrapped up in the ramen shop. Kakashi's trying to, give Naruto a pep talk in a way, but still being real with him. It's like, hey man, like don't get too down. You've accelerated a whole bunch of power. You might be even stronger than I am, or you are stronger than I am. There's different translations here or there. I'm pretty sure in the anime specifically, he does say that he is stronger than Naruto. I think in the manga it says you may have surpassed me or you may have caught up to me. So this is where like this is a big point of contention for a lot of fans, is who is the stronger. Now, personally, in my opinion, Naruto is, quote, stronger than Kakashi. I think we all can agree that like his chakra, potency, his attack potency is pretty much stronger than Kakashi. Stronger doesn't necessarily win the fight, as everyone knows, in first battle videos for Naruto anyway. Kakashi is still way more intelligent. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not to say that Naruto is dumb. He's actually really clever by this point. He's actually starting to make up some on-the-fly battle tactics in his fights and whatnot. But this is Kakashi, and he was like a master tactician. Kamui is still a big detriment, and not even that, like all his 1,000 jutsus, his planning. I think that Kakashi still scales over Naruto, not in terms of physical strength and physical attributes, but to say that like this Kakashi would lose to this Naruto is a little bit off the wall, in my opinion. Because if you think about it, like let's say that in narrative, if we're talking about in narrative, they're not going to go for their deadliest one-shot abilities, i.e. Rasen Shuriken or Kamui. So if that's the case, then yeah, I think it's even worse in Naruto's favor, because Kakashi still has 1,000 jutsu that he could literally use on top of his intellect. But if we did take if the gloves are off and they're going like full ham towards each other, the second that Naruto starts to prepare Rasen Shuriken, Kakashi's gonna have enough time to Kamui Naruto, at the very least, to disrupt him from using Rasen Shuriken. So, because I think one could argue that Kamui at this point isn't as refined as it was in the Pain arc and the War arc. Like a lot of people could probably attribute Kamui's performance And as to the Datara fight, like it might be not as fast, it might be as slow as the combo that he used against Datara. But even if that was the case, at the very least, it could be used to disrupt the Rasen Shuriken being performed by Naruto. In which case, maybe I could see Kakashi being able to capitalize on the confusion from Naruto. Although you could also make another argument that maybe Kakashi would be like not in the best shape for a few minutes because he just used the combo. So it's up to interpretation. But honestly, I think that this Kakashi should beat this Naruto. That's my point. Just with his 1,000 jutsu, Kamui, intellect. Now, Naruto does have the attack potency and attack strength to deal with this Kakashi if he's able to land the Rasen Shuriken. But other than that, I think Naruto doesn't really have much else in his arsenal that's capable of dealing with this Kakashi. So, Sage, you want to go first in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with basically everything you said. I think here's the deal. So the statement that people use is like, after he uses the Rasen Shuriken, like completes it, obviously not fully completes it, he can't throw, but after he's able to actually use it in combat, Kakashi says he surpassed him. Now, important context is he tells him prior to the Rasen Shuriken training, hey, I could not apply a nature release to the Rasengan, neither could Minato, but this training is going to hopefully allow you to do that, and if you do, you may be able to surpass me. So, like, what is he talking about there? He's talking about specifically this jutsu. And we know that because then after this, he either implies that they're on the same level or that Naruto's still below him, depending on what interpretation you use, depending on what translation you use. More consistently, from what I've seen, it implies that he's still a little bit above Naruto, but let's just say that they're equal. Let's just say that they're equal and Naruto has the Rasen Shuriken. That just means that Naruto has similar scaling to Kakashi, and Kakashi doesn't have the Rasen Shuriken, but that just means Kakashi has to avoid getting close to him, because he can't throw it. And Kakashi has a ton of long-range ninjutsu. He easily has a better battle IQ than Naruto. He has far more experience than Naruto. And he's just got so many tricks up his sleeve that I do not see a way in which Naruto gets a Rasen Shuriken to land on him. And I don't think he has any other legitimate win cons, because the Rasengan probably won't land either if the Rasen Shuriken's not going to land. So, while these two might be pretty close in terms of their scaling, specifically like a Kurama amped Naruto versus like a Sharingan Kakashi, there's no real implication given, in my opinion, that Naruto would beat him in a fight. It's just that he was able to do something with jutsu mastery that Kakashi couldn't do, and he now has a more powerful jutsu than Kakashi has in his arsenal. So I think it's more just about the jutsu potency and the jutsu proficiency, and less about him like being able to beat him, mano a mano. So,
all right, Loco, what you got?
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with these two, but I definitely think Naruto gives him like a pretty good fight. Like, Naruto is very strong at this point in time after completing the Rasen Shuriken training. And of course, Kakashi's statements could mean that Naruto hasn't quite reached his level yet, but it is something worth noting, right? Like, if Kakashi is impressed enough to be making the parallels between Naruto and himself, between Naruto and Minato at this point in time as well, you could definitely say that Naruto approaching Kakashi's level just implies lower end relativity to each other, right? So, and it's also shown that Naruto is capable of landing Rasengans and Rasen Shurikens on people he's slower than. A prime example of this is his fight against Kakuzu. He's quite literally states that Kakuzu is much faster than him, and he needs to basically distract him and make diversions so he can land that Rasen Shuriken on him in the first place. After all, Kakashi himself is the one who calls Naruto the #1 most unpredictable ninja. The problem with this is that it is very possible that at this point in time, Kakashi could just Kamui away the Rasen Shuriken if he gets lucky. And I do think that's like a valid counter to it as well. And it's just like Kakashi does have more experience. He has a lot more jutsus at his disposal. But just the fact that Naruto has an ability that can one-shot Kakashi at any given time, along with similar speed scaling and great battle IQ, makes him a very, very tough matchup for Kakashi. While I do think Kakashi will win in the end, it's going to be like high diff to extreme diff for him to get the W.
Now, something I would want to add on, because Loco kind of made me think of something that honestly, like, I could see a good win con for Naruto being that if he can make hundreds of shadow clones as a distraction. Now, granted, this is like Naruto when they're like, when they first start fighting, fresh chakra, Naruto, fresh start, like, just start fighting. I could see if Naruto makes hundreds of clones to distract Kakashi and enough time to prepare a Rasen Shuriken, that with Naruto's, clever planning, I could see him maybe landing or quote, landing a Rasen Shuriken on Kakashi. But like Loco just mentioned, if that was the case, Kakashi should be quick enough to see, because again, he can't throw it. So you'd have to like get close. And obviously, if Kakashi's seeing something that dangerous is approaching him at 12 o'clock, he's gonna combo it, right out the gate. So the only thing I could argue against that though is that if that does happen and Kakashi is quick enough to combo the Rasen Shuriken before it lands, that, with Naruto being still in decent condition, might be able to capitalize on the fact that Kakashi's kind of like, because don't get me wrong, like, one Kamui shouldn't make him like wiped out per se, like where he's not capable of moving at all. But we see that Kamui, before the war arc, still gives Kakashi a hard time after he gets done using it. So there's a good chance that like Naruto might be able to capitalize on it after he uses the initial Kamui. So if that is the case, then maybe Naruto could land a strong enough Rasengan, like just a normal Rasengan on Kakashi to be able to finish him. Maybe, but that's the only thing I can see. Other than that, yeah, I think I agree with both of them that Kakashi should take it due to experience, his wide arsenal of jutsu, Kamui if they're being serious, and yeah. So then we're all in agreement. Next round, we'll go with the Pain arc. This one's probably the shortest one of the video. Naruto stomps. I mean, there ain't nothing in Kakashi. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna say there's nothing in Kakashi's arsenal. If he's actually able to get the real Naruto, he's cooked. But at the same time, these could be under way too much pressure, especially if we're like including everything in Naruto's arsenal from the Pain arc, and that means like all the three toads, right? Plus Monpa, plus Gamakichi if he really if he really wanted to. So, and then obviously his Sage Jutsu. Like there's really not much that Kakashi can do like at all to keep up with this Naruto. Like I said, best case he hits the real Naruto with Kamui, and yeah, that's really bad. I mean, honestly, like, and there's a decent chance that because me and Loco were kind of back and forth on this in one of our other previous videos, that if Kamui is not a sealed dimension, then there's a chance that he can probably reverse, like Mappa can probably reverse some of him out of there. But if it is a sealed dimension, then yeah, he's cooked. But otherwise, though, I think that, yeah, I don't think Kakashi's winning this at all. Sage, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I will say if they both start in base, Kakashi has a significantly better chance, but I still think he probably loses because, like, Naruto can still summon the toads while he's in base. If they both start, like, Sharingan out and Naruto in Sage mode, he should just be able to sense the Kamui coming and move out of the way. So, yeah, I mean, full power for both of them. Naruto wins super easily. If they both start in base, Kakashi does have a chance to just like whip out the Kamui before Naruto has an opportunity to go into Sage mode. But yeah, most of the time, Naruto's going to win this fight.
Loco?
Yeah, I agree. At this point in time, there's not really much Kakashi has to contend with like Sage mode Naruto, especially when it's stated that Naruto at this point in time has like basically surpassed his predecessors. I believe this is in reference to both Jiraiya and Minato, but for the purposes of this video, I only need it to be in reference to Jiraiya. Like, if we're being generous to Kakashi, he caps out at the Sannin limit. I don't think that he's like surpassing the Sannin at this point in this in the series. Like, honestly, he's like, while Jiraiya didn't fight all 6 paths of pain at once, Kakashi seems to believe that he would have fared worse against Jiraiya during that fight. So realistically, I just don't think that there's much Kakashi can do to damage Naruto in the first place. Naruto should be superior in close quarters combat as well due to the buffs that Sage mode provides. Like they were saying, like Kakashi just doesn't really have any chance here.
All right, so now we'll move on to the 5 Kage Summit versions of these combatants. Now, here, something that like I was just approached to earlier on, and it actually does make. I mean, there was someone who made this comment to me not too long ago, something similar to what Sage and Loco had provided to me before we started recording, was that Kakashi after the pain arc was whenever he was revived, someone had made a comment to me in one of my videos prior. Now don't misunderstand me. Like I'm not like saying this as I laughed my butt off about it, because not because it was wrong, but because it was really out there, but it did make sense. So whenever Kakashi was brought back from Nagato, someone made a comment that once that happened, the Renegon, him bringing the Rene Rebirth kind of detoxed Kakashi in a way it kind of just got rid of all his negative physical attributes, which would explain how he got stronger in the early to late war arc, or stronger in the way of his chakra reserves got more exponential. So I could also see that argument. I think it's a little bit less likely than the argument that I'm going to be presenting now, which was what Sage and Loco mentioned to me earlier, was that after his conversation with his father in, limbo, whatever you want to call it, Kakashi's mindset clicked. Like he had his depression debuff, whatever you want to call it, was completely taken off the table. You can clearly see that in his fights in the Kage Summit and in the early war arc, where like he's a lot more sure of himself in his fights. He's not as depressed anymore. He's gotten over his depression hump, if you will, and so that can definitely affect battle performance for anybody, not just Kakashi. So and saying that, I think that if in regards to this fight, if they start out in base, then honestly Kakashi just kind of cooks Naruto. Well, not cooks. I think Naruto does perform pretty well, all things considered. But Kamui at this point, it was able to warp away Sasuke's Susanoo arrow at point blank. I don't really see anything in base Naruto's arsenal that's fast enough to blitz Kakashi. So if that's the case, then yeah, base Naruto is kind of done for. But if he does go into Sage mode, which, I mean, it seems like Naruto can just go into Sage mode anytime he wants. Doesn't really need to. It doesn't seem like it takes him too long to gather the nature energy to go into Sage mode. So if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, it's gonna be the same thing with the pain arc. I don't think Kakashi can really do much to this Naruto. Loco, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, well, Kakashi does have like pretty good arguments for getting stronger, such as like meeting his father in the afterlife, or even like Nagato and Pain detoxing him after bringing him back to life. He still just doesn't have the scaling to be put on like a similar level to Sage Naruto at this point in time. Like the best you can do is say that he's boxing with like a fatigued and injured and almost blind Sasuke after he's already fought basically all 5 Kage. So like that's about as far as Kakashi's scaling goes at this point in the story. Like it's just, I don't think he has the arguments like in his favor to say that he would be able to take on Naruto here. I think he does give Naruto a harder time if you're going with the interpretation that he gets stronger after the pain arc by some amount, but it would still just end in the same conclusion, basically.
Sage, what you got?
Yeah, so I would say if Naruto starts in base, and we're assuming that there's no mental nerfs in play, that there's, that they're actually trying to take each other out, I think Kakashi just wins. If Naruto's not starting in base, if he's starting in Sage mode, then Kakashi gets dominated. And the reason for this is we know for a fact he's severely mental nerfed in his fight against Sasuke. This is referenced not only in the manga, but also in the data books, talking about how his mind wavered as a friend, as a shinobi, So his mind is very clearly, mental nerfed right now in that fight, in that moment. So what is that? Why does that matter? Well, we know that he performs pretty solid against this version of Sasuke, but the most important thing is he's able to warp away 2 of his Susanoo arrows simultaneously or back-to-back. We don't really know, but we know he's able to warp away 2 of them with his Kamui, despite activating his Mangekyo after the arrows have already been fired. This means that his Mangekyo is a full blitz tier above these arrows that are potentially a blitz tier or like getting close to being a blitz tier above this Sasuke. So I don't think that base Naruto has any assertions to get him to that level of speed, meaning that if Kakashi just wanted to take his head off, there's nothing in Naruto's scaling and base that defends him being able to get out of the way. Now, the reason why if he's in Sage mode he can is because he'd probably be able to sense it, so he'd probably be able to feel it coming and then just move. But yeah, I think that Naruto just outscales him pretty badly here, and if you do want to upscale Kakashi here by doing away with the mental nerf, what you could say is like the fourth war starts like literally a day after this, and because he's mentally nerfed here, you could just argue he's severely mentally nerfed physically or whatever, and maybe he'd actually be closer to his early war arc counterpart. And if that's the case, then he should just win this, in my opinion. But based on his showings in the 5 Kage Summit and nothing else, yeah, he should lose to Sage Mode Naruto at the 5 Kage Summit for sure.
Now moving on to round 8. This is, speaking of early war arc, early war arc Kakashi, 1 Sharingan versus KCM1 Naruto. Now, as impressive as war arc Kakashi is, I'm sorry, but I got to give it to KCM1 Naruto.
Yeah.
If I had to do like, 1 to 10 scaling, I think Naruto takes this like 8, 9 out of 10. I think 8 probably would like set some people off either way. But the 2 that I feel like Kakashi could take it is due to his feats in the war arc. Early or not, like I think Kakashi's timing on Kamui is still nothing to sleep on. Like when he was able to teleport the Rasengan towards Tobi, like yes, Naruto was kind of moving in a linear direction, but in the anime kind of confuses people sometimes, because I think people have to remember that they're still moving at full speed, or what would amount to full speed. It's slowed down in the anime so that the viewer can keep up, but like in the actual fight, they're not moving as how they're moving on screen. They're actually moving as fast as they potentially can. And so the fact that Kakashi was able to Kamui the Rasengan before like it actually made contact with Obito is crazy. And even a few minutes after that, when he was able to teleport the clone, moving at what you could maybe even say at the lowest, like 80% of Naruto's full speed, because Naruto was letting Kakashi use Kamui. But still, him even being able to do that before Obito could even notice that he Kamui'd, or right before the Rinnegan Rod made contact with the clone, is crazy. So there is, a couple of chances that Kakashi could take it, but that's really not even getting the fact that Naruto could make like 12 to 13 super clones in KCM1 to just completely overwhelm Kakashi. So the luckiest chance that Kakashi would have in this fight is if he is lucky enough to Kamui the real KCM1 Naruto in a split second that he can. So it's up to debate, it's up for debate. I think it's possible, but Kakashi would just have to be really precise. So, Loco, you want to go on? You want first on this one?
Sure. I'm with the interpretation that Kakashi gets significantly stronger as the war arc progresses due to like his mental state being constantly unburdened, right? So we already mentioned how like he meets his dad in the afterlife during the pain arc, and that could possibly contribute to growth in strength or speed. But he also has a lot of these clarity moments in the war arc where he's able to strengthen his resolve. For example, after meeting Obito and unmasking him, he realizes that he wants to protect Naruto in the dream of the younger version of Obito that the current version of Obito is trying to destroy. And of course, he's able to meet up with its former master Minato and come to amends with him. And then later on, he's like Obito comes back to the light side, basically, and that is when Kakashi should be at his peak. At this point in time, this stuff hasn't really happened yet. It's still early in the war arc. He should still be very comparable to his Kage Summit version, if not slightly stronger. And we just kind of talked about how Sage Mode Naruto would probably dominate this man. So KCM1 Naruto has better speed scaling, likely has better attack potency due to the Rasen Shuriken, has much better stamina due to the Nine Tails Chakra. Kakashi's only win con in this fight is Kamui, and it's rendered useless if Naruto creates clones at any given time. Like LightningSnow said, he can create 12 to 13 super clones of himself that can just be running amok throughout the battlefield, basically jumping Kakashi. and he really has no counter to it because he'll never know which clone is the real one. He'll never be able to differentiate. So basically, I got KCM1 Naruto taking this one hands down.
Sage, what you got?
Yeah, I think, honestly, like, if you were wanting to highball Kakashi here, you could say, well, you know, his perception must be greater than the movement speed, or at least equal to the movement speed of KCM1 Naruto, because he's able to warp that Rasengan out of his hand while he's moving at full speed. And that's fair. Like, I do think there is a real argument to be made. Like, he might be able to just pick his head off. The problem is, we know for a fact that, you know, Naruto can sense the intent to, like, kill. He can sense, like, evil intent and things like that. So I think that if he even thinks of trying to activate Kamui, Naruto might be able to pick up on that and just start moving around, making a bunch of clones. This is also, like, him and his regular combat speed. We know that he can pair this with the body flicker to just, like, outright blitz people like the Kage, who he couldn't blitz outside of that. So there's just, like, a bunch going on in Naruto's favor here. He's got all the different chakra arms you can throw at him, a bunch of, you know, it's just a bunch of things in his arsenal that'll be a massive problem. And on top of all of that, he does still have his toads and everything else. So while Kakashi is massively impressive in the first part of the war, you know, even able to go toe-to-toe with tailed beasts and stay on panel, or move on panel at the same pace as 6th Gate Guy, he just doesn't have what it takes to take down a guy who can make, like they said, you know, 13 super clones, and they can all throw Rasen shurikens at him, and, you know, just kind of keep him busy and make sure he can't snipe any of them immediately. So, yeah, Kakashi takes the L here, unless he just, like, off rip takes KCM Naruto's head off before he can detect it or something. So I would say, like, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, so next round, going on to late war Kakashi versus KCM2 Sage Mode Naruto. Yeah, this one's really not even a question, unfortunately. Yeah. I gotta be honest. Like, I mean, honestly, and you know, if to make matters even worse, all it would probably take is just the 2 clones that we saw Naruto have in KCM2. Now, let alone KCM2 Sage Mode Naruto. That would probably be all it would take, really, to take this Kakashi. I don't mean that in a bad way, but, like, we forgot to even mention that the super clones that KCM1 Naruto had could make dozens of hundreds of clones on their own. So, like, who are all chucking, like, Odama Rasengans. And so, yeah, I gotta be blunt. Even if Naruto just didn't even use the Kurama avatar, like, I just don't really, like, I think, again, like, 9 out of 10 times, you know, the lucky chance that Kakashi does have is he's, like, don't get me wrong, I think his combo is quick enough to land on this Naruto, but he has to make it precise. And if Naruto is just fighting himself with restraint, yeah, I could see Kakashi pulling out a win, you know, lucky enough, you know, and quick enough. But if Naruto fights like he normally does with any amount of clones, I think Kakashi's just going to get overwhelmed. I don't think Kakashi really has anything else in his arsenal aside from combo to be able to get the win here. So, Loco, what do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I just don't think that there's anything here that Kakashi can do other than use Kamui. This is like a common theme up until this point in the video. Like, for the past, like, 3 matchups, Kamui is his best bet, and he's still, like, unable to take it. He does have really good speed scaling at this point in time, like, closer to the end of the war. I would even go so far as to say that he's approaching the KCM2 level, if not, like, on that level already. We do see him show relativity to KCM Minato in chapter 657. They're running at a similar speed, trying to catch Black Zetsu. And so you could say that Kakashi is, like, pretty fast enough to keep up with KCM2 Naruto and react to all of his attacks. But the thing is, Naruto just overpowers him, like, really badly. Even though Kakashi should be able to keep up with him at the very least, Naruto has some crazy abilities in his arsenal when he's unleashing the full power of Kurama, especially if we're stacking Sage Mode on top of this. Like, Kakashi just really can't do anything against the likes of the Kurama avatar, the Bijou bombs, the massive Rasen shurikens, especially when they're all stacked with Sage Mode sensory. Like, Naruto will be able to tell where Kakashi is and what he's doing the entire fight. So really, Naruto just has a wide arsenal of heavy hitting attacks, most of which Kakashi has no counter for except Kamui, which is Like, Kakashi doesn't get tired out very quickly, but he can only spam Kamui for so long before he just gets tired out. So honestly, I just don't think he has any chance against this version of Naruto. Like, KCM2 Naruto is just way too strong, especially with Sage Mode.
Yeah. So Sage, you want to go next?
Yeah, I would say, like, I agree with pretty much everything. I do think he scales, at or around that KCM2 tier. And, his perception does scale above his own combat speed. So you could say that the Kamui would scale above KCM2, which might be consistent with him warping away a KCM2 Naruto clone. But the problem is, again, you stack KCM, like that movement speed that he's kind of scaling to, and then you add Sage Mode on top of it with the physical advantages that has. But the bigger point is the sensory, because then Naruto would be able to know whenever the Kamui's coming and just dodge it. So I would say, like, Kakashi is in that level of combatant. Like, he's on that tier with those guys that are on that tier because of his Kamui hacks. But when you have somebody who can just overwhelm you with literally 1,000 shadow clones and fire Bijou bombs and Rasen shurikens at you, where are you going to aim the combat?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So, yeah, Kakashi, even though he's massively impressive, like, let's not get it twisted, he's just not beating this character at this point in time.
Yeah. All right, so it was kind of surprising. I know y'all might have been surprised. I think some people were actually expecting me and Sage to wank War Kakashi in this one, but no, we kind of give it to Naruto. We're not that.
Bijou Sage Mode Naruto is a little different.
Yeah, we're not that much of a Kakashi wanker. So going on to the last round, the Battle of Gods, ladies and gentlemen. We have DMS Kakashi versus Six Path Naruto. Now, honestly, at first glance, many people, I think there are a lot of, like, most people would probably go ahead and go for Six Paths Naruto, and I was kind of thinking the same thing, but that depends on how the fight starts. Now, yeah, Sage did bring up something, and I think I already knew, I just forgot because I was going on the side of what most people would say, and how most people think fights start out. Because initially I was thinking about how the Susanoo Kurama Avatar, fight would go. If we're going on that side, I think that Kakashi just kind of gets overwhelmed. I won't even lie, because, like, it's already arguable, like, whether or not one Kurama Avatar could, like, contest with this Susanoo. But when you give him, like, 3 or 4 other Kurama Avatars who also have Sage, because, like, again, like, if Naruto pulls the same stunt he did against Sasuke, where he has one Kurama Avatar just chilling, gathering Sage energy from afar, while the other 3 are kind of just, like, distracting Kakashi, I think as cracked as this Kakashi is, I think Naruto will just be overwhelm him. But if the fight starts out, like, on the ground, no avatars at all, I don't know. I think Kakashi might just be fast enough to be able to Kamui this Naruto into Kamui. Like, no joke, because, like, we saw that, like, Kage was able to avoid both Naruto and Sasuke being able to seal her, i.e. specifically when she, jumped up, I guess, or flew up, and Sakura, like, before Sakura punched her to bring her back down. And this same Kaguya was stated by Black Zetsu to get exponentially stronger and faster just a few minutes prior. And this same Kaguya got her portal teleported away by this Kakashi, in the split second that she opened it. So it's like, and he also went on to blitz her, after Zetsu had just told, himself or whoever he was talking to, that Kaguya got exponentially stronger and faster. From there, you could make the argument that if it starts on the ground with no Susanoo, no clones or whatever, that even with clones, that there's a chance that if Kakashi marks the real Naruto, that he might be able to Kamui him. And even if he doesn't get him the first time, this Kakashi has a little bit more, chakra or, opportunities to spam Kamui due to his 6-pass chakra that he has. So, I don't know. I think Naruto might be good. I know that's like, what you want to call it, I'm drawing a blank, guys. But what do you call it, like a cop-out, yeah. I know it's maybe a cop-out answer that Kamui is just like, oh, GG, but no, this Kamui is doubled in speed, so it shouldn't be slept on. Sage, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, so I honestly think what it really comes down to is how you think Kamui works, because regardless of what form they start in, I do think that if you think that Kamui would just like bypass the Kurama avatar and just like land directly on Naruto, even if he starts in the Kurama avatar, he's just cooked. Because we actually get to see in the Kage fight, again, after all of the she just got exponentially faster stuff, while Kakashi is falling, like after he's used the majority of the 6-path chakra he had, Naruto and Sasuke are like closing in on Kaguya, and we can see them moving on panel. Then she opens up a portal, or I actually think Black Zetsu opens up the portal, but the portal's opened up for the Bone Ash to come through, and Kakashi warps away the portal in a shorter time, like this football plus sized portal, in a shorter time than it takes Naruto's hand to move like 3 inches. So what does that tell me? That tells me that if they go into this fight fully serious, trying to kill one another, Kakashi could legitimately warp Naruto's head off of his body faster than Naruto can move 3 inches, which means he's not making a hand sign. It means he's not like moving his head out of the way. Like there's just a bunch in Kakashi's favor here in terms of just raw speed, and I just don't think that any version of Naruto to this point in the story can compete with it. Here's what I will say though, if you're of the interpretation that Kamui would have to warp a hole in the Kurama avatar and then attack him inside of it, then that would work differently. But unless Naruto is starting with a bunch of clones out on the battlefield, which like, that's not how battles typically start. It's like, okay, you're in your standard form in this, mode. You're in your standard form in this mode, go, If it starts like that, Kakashi just takes his dome piece off. Like, there's no argument for Naruto even being able to dodge it, in my opinion.
Loco, what you got?
Yeah, I agree to an extent. If Kakashi comes out immediately and tries to use Kamui on Naruto before he's done anything else, before he's even like moved an inch, then yeah, Kakashi will probably snipe his head off with that long-range Kamui. But if he doesn't do that, he's probably cooked. The moment Naruto begins making shadow clones, the moment he enters his Kurama avatar, it's really bad news for Kakashi because he doesn't want a drawn-out fight. So the time limit on the DMS factor is limited. It's not very short, but it is limited. And we know that Naruto can pretty much fight for as long as he wants, since he should have almost limitless stamina at this point in the series. So basically, if Naruto creates shadow clones, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Kakashi won't know which one is which and won't be able to hit it with a Kamui snipe, basically. And if Naruto enters the Kurama avatar and starts making shadow clones of those Kurama avatars like we see him do at the Valley of the End, they're going to rip apart Kakashi's perfect Susanoo, which would probably make the Kamui shurikens useless and things of that nature. So I think Naruto just has the capabilities and the toolkit to outlast DMS Kakashi, especially if we're taking into account the Ashura avatar, which just basically buffs Naruto's strength and speed and consolidates all of the nature energy that Kurama is able to gather into one single avatar. So if Naruto whips out that Ashura avatar, you could probably just bombard Kakashi with a bunch of long-range techniques and just stall until like Obito is no longer able to provide Kakashi with the dual Mangekyo Sharingan buff. So if that's the case, Kakashi would just run out of chakra, and then Naruto just kind of slams him. It's a kind of like lame fight because all Naruto's going to be doing is stalling and maybe even running away at occasions. But like it's pretty much the best chance that he has at winning at this point in time.
So there y'all have it, y'all. It's 10 rounds of Naruto versus Kakashi. Honestly, it kind of makes sense that this one's a little bit longer than the Kakashi and Sasuke one. But I mean, it is what it is. I think we did a pretty good job. We had some contention with one or two of these, but honestly, I think we're in agreement for the most part. This one was a solid one, y'all. I don't know what y'all got.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the deal. This is like an hour-long video, so if you're still here and you haven't clicked subscribe, what are we doing?
For real.
What are we doing here? Like the video, subscribe to LightningSnow. He's always putting out great content. Busted his tail to make sure that he's getting stuff out regularly. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. I know this is a long listen or watch, however you took this in. But I think we have some really quality content in here.
Yeah, we've done several collabs with LightningSnow on his channel already. I think this one with me and LightningSnow would have come out like a week before this one drops. So be sure to check out all of the collabs that we do together, all the collabs, all the videos that LightningSnow puts out. He's a great content creator. Check out my boy Sage and Thick Calves, the Anbu Kakashi stan himself. And
Yes, sir.
yeah, it was great to come on here with y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all, if y'all haven't subscribed to my channel yet, be sure to do so. If you haven't subscribed to Sage's channel, be sure to do so. And if you haven't subscribed to Loco's channel, be sure to do so. We're always putting out content every time we can. It's either regularly or semi-regularly. We're getting the content out there, y'all. We're trying to be the Go creators, y'all.
I try.
But thank you all for watching. Again, like Sage said, if y'all watched all the way to the end, you guys are champions among champions. Not even gonna lie to you, but make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you click the bell for more notifications. Until my next one, LightningSnow out.